Hello, my name is Emma Hassel, and today I'm joined by one of the artists of the Time Out exhibition, Cassidy Bronner. Cassidy is a lecturer for the Department of Art at Ohio State. The Time Out show is on view at Urban Art Space Hopkins Hall Gallery starting October 26th to November 5th. Time Out exhibits the work of 19 current and accomplished staff within the Ohio State University Department of Art. For more information, just check out our website at uas.osu.edu. Hi, so can you start by just telling us about your work in the exhibition?
Sure. So my piece is titled Mama Maman, and it's a diptych. So there's two images that make up the piece. And one is of myself and my mother photographed in Plain City, Ohio. And one is of my husband and my mother-in-law, his mother, photographed in Tehran, Iran. And both are taken with an infrared filter. So it's this technology that was actually developed or heavily used by the military as ways of sort of spying on the other side. It's like a filter of mistrust and like trying to visualize things that we can't see. So I was really interested in that, specifically with the relationship between the United States and Iran, and then just the relationship of our marriage and having two sort of competing countries at this moment, and thinking about that in relationship to the Madonna or the mother figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love your piece. It's so like beautiful just seeing those moments of just love and warmth between the hugs and everything. I think it's really beautiful.
Thanks.
Okay, so next question. How did you decide which of your works to include in this kind of cohesive collaborative exhibition?
Yeah, so I'm always thinking about size when it comes to like exhibition where we all need to like bring in a piece, but there's limited space. So thinking what scale do I want the work to be, and how much space do I take up in a group show? So those images I typically show with a really somewhat large, like 4 by 5 foot fabric piece in between them. But I haven't seen them on their own yet. And that was one of my more recent things that I was working with over the summer. That style of photography is actually a little newer for me. So I wanted to see what other iterations it could be in. And if I pare it down and remove the fabric piece, how does that change the work?
Wow, that's really cool. So next question. Can you speak about your work as an artist and your work as an educator? How do they relate to one another within Time Out?
Yeah. I mean, it's not atypical to hear that education feeds our practice, right? Every time I'm with my students, their sort of ideas and inspirations and questions fuel my own thoughts and ideas as well. But specifically, I'm really interested in looking at ways that art is a reflection of our culture, and then the way that we use art as these defining moments in history. Historical context is something that I'm interested in, something that I discuss with my students, and also something that I'm thinking about with my work, the idea of like the archive, or what information is valued or stored or shared. And so these are questions I'm asking myself and asking my students, and often it cycles back to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm an art history major, so the archive thing really hits home with me. So that's cool.
That's very cool. Yeah, like the archives is sort of interesting definition, right? And like what archives exist and what constitutes an archive.
Yes, exactly. And like who decides what gets put in an archive? Like what do we spend all this time and money preserving? Like who gets to decide that?
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty. Next question. How did you and the other artists of Time Out come together? Was it a kind of collaborative effort? overall, is there like any sort of unifying theme that you guys decided on for the exhibition?
I mean, most of it I think was just really led and guided by Jeremy, which is great to have a person sort of take on everything. I don't think there's like an overall theme, but often when you find work together, the pieces, no matter like whatever your work is next to, it's going to start to have some sort of dialogue, right? So I'm actually really interested to see it all together, because it was just a call for us to bring something in, consider the space, right? Consider the amount of people. But yeah, it wasn't like, oh, this all needs to be under this specific theme. So I'm curious to see how it works together. I think it'll be a nice variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually here right now, and I think Jeremy really set it up really beautifully. Like, even though all the pieces don't necessarily relate to each other, it's really interesting to walk around and see all of them. This is actually our last question. So the pieces displayed in timeout vary in medium and style. What do you think that says about the diversity of the Department of Art at Ohio State?
Well, that we're working in different practices, obviously, but also that like this is a show of like staff and lecturers and people within less sometimes like fixed positions. And so thinking that there's quite a variety of voices like being brought in to OSU on like different rotating bases. And that often a lot of artists will work with more interdisciplinary mediums. And I think that's sort of a reflection of what's happening with art now. Like often people aren't saying like, this is the only thing I do for the rest of my life, right? We have a lot of materials and sources at our disposal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think even though it wasn't necessarily collaborative, I think there's like so many different mediums and nothing really feels super repetitive or anything. So I think that's really cool that even though it wasn't collaborative, everybody came together and did something different just on their own.
Yeah, and representation of like how the types of educators, right, and styles and mediums they work with.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, Ohio State is definitely huge, and I think it's great that we have so many different kinds of art teachers and staff and lecturers and everything. So thank you so much for answering my questions and talking to me about the exhibit. If you want to learn more about the exhibit or to schedule a visit to Hopkins Hall, please visit our website that I mentioned earlier, Urban Art Space.
Thank you.